The way I see it is this. You've got programmer, okay? We're going to call, okay, proggy. Okay, this is the programmer. They work, generally speaking, let's just say at like a company, okay? And just for whatever purposes, we'll just call it Acme. Okay. There's a reason why I'm drawing this out. Now, you have someone else, and they, how do I don't even remember how to, yeah, okay. And they're going to be, let's say, you know what, let's put an actual text. So we'll put like, I don't know, manager. Okay. And then, okay, we'll take this out. Or we can erase this maybe. I don't even know if we can erase it. I don't care. Here, already with the skill issues. Programmer, manager. All right. Okay. So you've essentially got at least 3 people here. Now what's going to happen is that somewhere along the way, you're going to get somebody who comes in and somewhere like up here, right? So let's just add a new layer just so that I don't like screw this up too much. So somewhere up here, requirements are going to come in, and your programmer is going to need to create some code. Okay, so we're going to put code over here. All right. Now this is where developer experience starts coming into play and where it starts going wrong. So the programmer is going to start writing code, and they're going to start making decisions about how they're going to write this code. And they might decide that what they're going to do is they're going to, let's go with NPM, right? But it could be they're going to pull in a library or a framework. They're going to pull in React. They're going to pull in Vue. They're going to use Rust with like a bunch of packages. It doesn't matter. Just your typical, like your standard go-to, this just works. It's just, we're going to get it done. Let's not worry about like, trying to be fancy here. We have tools. People have solved things. Let's just use it, right? So you're going to have NPM. Now let's just go with NPM, but it could be anything. Immediately what's going to happen is you're going to pull in at least one package. Let's call it a package, or some kind of external code. It's code that you did not write, so it does not live in this space. Okay, it lives like in its own thing, and it becomes a part of this. Now what happens is that at the end of the day, your output looks great because you were able to accomplish, any number of features, right? And so you go, yay, my features are complete, and like the manager's happy and everyone else is happy, right? What goes unnoticed is what you've Trojan horsed into this code. Right? So any amount of security issues, any amount of poor performance, any amount of bugs, any amount of licensing issues, and any amount of future breaking updates of a variety of any kind. So you not only have historical all of these, you also have current all of these, and you also have future all of these. You have 3 levels of all of these issues all coming in externally, code you haven't touched. Now, the argument here would be, yeah, but first of all, are you going to go write all that code by hand? You'd never get anything done. Fair point. Secondly, there are enough developers out there who care about what they're doing that they're going to resolve these kinds of issues. I'm going to stop you right there and I'm going to say, I think that's false. I think a lot of programmers create external code that you bring in and they don't care. If we saw an increase or some kind of, positive improvements in terms of programmers caring about the code that exists out there in this world, we would not be seeing the kinds of numbers we were seeing back in previous streams, in the last 4 streams, where in at least 2 of them, I demonstrate by data that we are bleeding trillions of dollars and we are literally ending people's lives. Not just so to speak, but it actually affects them. People actually have like real world physical impacts because of poor quality code, security vulnerabilities, defects, bugs, etc. And it's only increasing. It's not getting better. So I do not see any evidence that the code that's being created out here in this land, whether it's NPM or libraries or frameworks or whatever, is actually making any improvements whatsoever. And as to the first point, are you going to write it all yourself? Here's the problem. My argument would be, you shouldn't have to write it all yourself. What should be the case is that the code that you're bringing in is thoroughly judged before it's brought in. And you have expertise in-house who can look at the reasons why they're running an NPM install, what's included in it, and whether they should hand code it or not, whether it should be included or not, things like that. Our problem is that we cannot actually satisfactorily assess. We don't even have enough developers who can even assess whether this world that they're importing is of good nature or not. Why? Because we're so used to porting in all the junk that has been created in the last 10 to 15 years with all these libraries and frameworks, because what matters more to us is not whether this world is junk or not. What matters more to us is whether you feel good about importing this world and whether you feel good about the features that are being produced. And whether you feel good about the code you generated with those features, and whether the manager feels good about, how many features got out, and whether the executive feels good about that, and whether the venture capitalist feels good about that. It's mostly based around feelings, and we have essentially negated the ability for a large swath of our programmers in the industry to be able to even attempt to determine whether what they're bringing in is risky or not. We can have our cake and eat it too. I'm not saying that we all need to go back to handwriting everything that we do, writing in assembly or things like that. What I am saying is that what we've done is essentially said, it's good enough. And then programmers start losing the skills they need to be able to properly identify and judge what should be brought in and what shouldn't. And so you have a large swath of the industry who at this point, all they know is what popular tech streamer recommended to them. All they know is what they saw on X. All they know is what they saw on YouTube. All they know is what they attempted on the YouTube tutorial. All they know is what they saw a bunch of other, high profile teams do with tools inside of companies that can afford to take hits at the tune of millions of dollars in refactoring costs, for example, or tackling technical debt to the tune of millions of dollars. That's what they saw. That's what they go with. There is no actual proper judgment or assessment on what's going on in here and whether it's actually any good. And that's just to speak of the things that are being brought in order to make developers feel good because they can more quickly get to the feature portion of their life cycle. They can more quickly go from programmer to keyboard to code to feature because they write fewer things on screen. That's what's happening. A programmer now gets to write fewer things. They get to tap fewer keys. All this stuff does the heavy lifting for them. They get to the feature faster. Everyone's happy. Oh, but wait. Here's what happens, and this is especially true in a venture capitalist kind of like investor, VC funded, let's go for that exit, let's get that quick cash grab, etc. This is especially true of these situations, but it can also be true in fully bootstrapped companies. I've seen it in fully bootstrapped companies. They take no outside influence at all, and they just run themselves. And what tends to happen is that there's still someone who gets to decide the flow of money. So when that's involved, what tends to happen, I'm going to like take this and I'm going to move it over if I can. Here, we'll go like that. So what tends to happen is we're going to go down here. You're going to build, let's say, however many features, right? So, let's just assume that there's like a website over here. I'll zoom in a second. Okay, or an application of some kind, and it's got like feature 1 and feature 2 and feature 3 and so on. Okay, whatever it is, however many features, someone's going to go ahead and use this. Now what's happened is you've smuggled in all the issues here into this feature. And as we've seen in previous streams, I think the last stream I did, I covered a lot of this. A lot of issues, whether they're security-wise, bugs, or performance, go unnoticed, sometimes for decades, 10 plus years. So what'll happen is everybody feels good at the moment that these features are created. Nobody feels good when 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, if you're lucky enough to be a successful company, post 4 years or so, when things go very bad and then people are unhappy because something in here caused an issue that you didn't even notice. And then to go back to what I was saying before, which is up here, these tools, these mechanisms, etc., have catered too much to the lowest common denominator, where when it comes time to hit that we're in a bad spot, there's a security issue or a licensing issue or a defect or a performance issue or something like that up here, the amount of people who know how to fix that are the exact same amount of people who know how to originally judge whether they should have brought it in the first place. So because you feel good in the moment about the fact that you were able to get to this point very, very quickly, and your manager was happy, and your executive was happy, and your programmer was happy, and everybody feels good about that 6 month, 1 year outlook, and you get all that cash, that doesn't mean that you have no problems. Nor does it mean that this was a good way to accomplish things. Because the cost of getting to this point where unhappiness settles in and the issues rear their ugly heads, the cost at this point, as I have proven in previous streams, I feel like I have proven in previous streams, vastly outweighs the savings that were garnered by, hey, we can just have junior developers only know React and build stuff that it used to take senior developers to do. Or, hey, we don't need as big of a team. Or, hey, we don't have to handwrite a bunch of stuff. It's all been taken care of for us. Or, hey, we get to write faster code because a bunch of stuff is pulled in for us and it's taken care of. The programmers just have to write fewer lines of code. All those savings are vastly outdwarfed by the costs over here when things go bad. And you can't always tell when things go bad, as is proven time and time again with the current state of the IT industry. And then you wonder why people have imposter syndrome and why people like me think that developer experience is too heavily leaned on. So that's kind of like the overview of developer experience and why I think it's very cult-like. Um, just, just like in cults, what cults will often do as well is they will try and negate the negativity, right? So when you reach this point, okay, here's what happens a lot of the time. So let's assume that, let's pretend like everyone agrees with me. Yeah, it's great. Everybody felt great up here. And yeah, this shouldn't have happened. And then, yeah, you get features. And then, yeah, let's just assume everybody's in agreement here, right? So what happens is you get to this point of, something bad happened. And we didn't see it for like, I don't know, like 6 years. Okay, something like that, right? Here's what cults do when bad things happen. Because when bad things happen, your cognitive dissonance kicks in, and you're the cognitive, like the logical aspect of your brain goes, wait, something's not right. Why are bad things happening to me if I felt good getting to this point? These two things don't add up. And then what a cult will do, its members and its leaders, they'll come down and they'll put smiles on their faces, okay? And they'll go, oh, but don't you remember the good days? Don't you remember when you had to write so little to get here? Don't you remember how good that was? Don't you remember all the stuff we saved you? Think of the good stuff. Don't think of any of the bad stuff. You gained more than you lost. And I see that a lot. And what does that do? Again, it overrides your logical thinking ability, and makes you focus on the emotional aspect of how you felt when you were here. It felt good. Focus on that. And then, to make matters worse, as if that's not enough, what they'll do is they'll come in with their happy faces. Okay, so you're upset because something down here didn't work, right? And so they'll come in with their happy faces and they'll go, don't worry. Remember how good it was up here when you didn't have to write a bunch of stuff because we solved it for you? We got you, bro. This problem that you're experiencing right now, we have even more packages for you, and we have even more libraries for you. And now you can do something like Agile, or you can do add your like Babel or Webpack or whatever it is that you want, a Tailwind now. Don't worry, we have it all solved for you. So even when you experience future problems, there's always the answer of, we have a way to make you feel good. So when your logical side of things says, what the hell is going on? Then the emotional side comes in and says, don't worry, we'll make you feel good anyways. And so you just keep going, and the problem just gets worse. And everybody participates in it, because there is always something that pushes people involved into continually just regurgitating all the mistakes that they made in the past because their emotions overtake them. It is very much a cult-like behavior and mentality. And again, I want to be clear for the umpteenth time that this is not me telling people, programmers or whatever, that you're stupid, okay? Because I've done this myself, exactly this thing. And I've also been in a cult. So what does that say about me? I'm an idiot too. I'm pretty dumb as well. Ask most people who know me for more than 5 minutes in real life. They'll tell you how dumb I am. Okay. So I get it. It is an easy, it's a coping mechanism when you go through life, and the logical side of things is telling you that, hey, something's rough. Real life's hitting you. It's a wall, and it's like, I don't know how to even begin to grapple this. And that's where I think a lot of programmers are failing. And I want to encourage programmers to start picking up on the passions that were there in years before, when programmers would sit down, back in the old, I guess, whatever, like 20 years ago, whatever. It's not even olden days. And the passion was there to try and figure things out and go through some struggle because it was exciting. That seems scary, I think, to programmers today. Oh, I have to go and like the idea that you would have to go and solve problems that have already been solved here is extremely scary to a lot of programmers. And I find myself in that position a lot where I go, do I really want to be tackling this problem? I don't even know if I have the brains to do it. I don't even think I have the brains to create the kind of packages and libraries and frameworks that I see out there. They seem so crazy. How would I even begin to touch those things? But my encouragement would be that we actually need developers to be doing that more and more. And less dependent on just like assuming that things are solved for you and that's it. And it's not, I'm saying that because I want it to be clear that I don't think that people who operate this way are de facto dum-dums. I don't think you are. Programming is like it takes a certain level of, I don't know what you want to call it. Maybe not intellect, but a certain level of logical thinking that a lot of people esteem. They find it, unreachable. And if you're a programmer, then you're accepting that. But then just accept it and lean into it. And I would love to see more programmers push themselves to get to the point where they can at least have a better chance of judging what's going on here. That would at least be way better. Even if we keep all the current tools and all the current frameworks and everything, at least push yourself to have a better, be more equipped to figure out what's going on in this box that you're importing into your code when you're not writing the code by yourself. And if you have that ability, it starts opening the code to when you do write your own, it opens the door to when you do write your own code, you can judge your own code better as well. Not perfectly, but man, we are in the wrong direction. We're just putting way too much faith in, well, it's been solved. Well, let's just use this. Who cares? Like, doesn't matter. There are no long-term consequences or la, 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 la. I don't want to know about it. Stick your head in the sand. Or you just don't even know. You don't even know what to know. We have to stop getting away from that. Okay. That's it. I'm gonna end essentially the topic there.